This is Group Australia. My name is Emily Barnes.
And I'm Audrey Bradshaw.
And we're discussing Pakistani English, the linguistic variances. The first one that we noticed that can really be tied back into the video that we decided to do is the usage of dental stops. So essentially, when a TH sound, a th sound, because it's not used in the Urdu language that they speak in Pakistan, if a TH starts at the beginning of a word, they replace it with a T sound, and if it's at the end, if it's at the beginning of the word, it's replaced with like a D sound, like this in our video, dis. Mm-hmm. And if it's at the end of the word, they replace it with a T sound. So that's one that we really noticed and was related. We could relate back to our video that we decided to use.
Yeah, a couple of the other variances we found weren't exactly related to the video because it was a very formal setting.
Mm-hmm.
And so her grammar and her syntax would be a lot more similar to British English or American English because it has to reach a wider audience. But
she was accepting a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, so but in the more informal settings in Pakistan, they tend to do something called code switching, and so they will switch out words of Urdu for the other way around. They'd switch an English word with an Urdu word. And so they could start off, like on the radio, they'd start off with some kind of introduction, they use an Urdu word, and then they'll say a few words in English, and then they'll switch back to Urdu. And so that's very common in Pakistan, especially since, as we mentioned in our last video, they don't have supposedly native English speakers teach English in Pakistan, and so they end up using a lot of their own native words.
Mm-hmm. And then another one that we noticed is the omission of certain auxiliary verbs. One example that we were able to find was the word, like the verb to do, for example. They won't use it. So instead of saying, "How did you get here?" they'll say something like, "How you got here." And it's almost like they're kind of shortening it. It's more like a shorthanded version of English, as opposed to you can still understand what they're saying. It's just not how we would say it or how we would write it. It's more simplified.
Yeah, and they kind of do that with articles too, like the article. One example from the reference that Samuel gave us mentions, my father is lecturer. Normally we would consider proper grammar, my father is a lecturer, because we use articles a lot in American English and British English because we consider it proper grammar, but since they haven't really studied native English that much, that's not really even considered grammatically incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is informal, so
Sup.
Possibly, but that's as far as our research has gotten us to, so.